Stephanie Graham's Sopreneur. How are you today? It's August 13th, 2022. And I had one of my whoops fans or not fans, sorry. One of my subscribers reached out to me through my Etsy shop. They had purchased the Ultimate Guide book that I have. It's still a PDF for now, but that'll change here soon. Anyways, she wanted some ideas on contracts for sewing businesses, and I'm thinking that it's most likely for the memory bears because that's what the Ultimate Guide is written for, is memory bear and keepsake sewing business owners or somebody that wants to provide that service. So I'm just going to make a quick video today on some ideas. Now, disclaimer, I can't give legal advice and I can't give tax advice because I'm not a professional in either of those. But what I can do is share with you what I use in my business and what I know to say and do. And then you can just take that information to your own legal team and get their okay on it. So always take legal considerations and tax considerations to your own professionals. That way you're covered. Uh, Anytime you hear from me or anybody else, we're basically just giving you some pointers, I think, um, obviously. So let's just talk about something here for a second. There is a difference between a contract and an order. And let me get these pulled up for you. I have my notes here. So a contract is a document that details the product that's being sold. It also sets the agreement on the prices and defines the terms and conditions of the purchase agreement for a certain period of time. Contracts provide the value and number of purchase orders and invoices. All right, the difference between a purchase order and a contract isn't readily apparent. So, here is some things to consider. And I just have my notes, so give me a second. You might want to write this down or at least subscribe to this channel, Sopreneur channel, and ring the bell for notifications. And that way you know that you already have this information. Give me one second. Okay. We are going to load here for a second. So what's the difference between a purchase order and a contract? So we basically just said that they do look similar. It's, um, I guess it can be confusing. Again, go to your own legal team for your business specifics. All right. So a purchase order is a document sent from the buyer to the seller with a request of an order for the product. When the seller accepts the document, it forms a legally binding contract between the buyer and the seller. A contract is a document that details the products being sold, sets the agreement upon prices, and defines the terms and conditions of the purchase agreement for a certain period of time. Contracts also provide the value and number of purchase orders and invoices. So, as a memory bear service provider, obviously I haven't done that in 2022, but I'll be back into that shortly. And then previous to this year, that's what I did full time. Um, I've always had a contract, and what I never called it a purchase order, but I guess you can call it that. Um, but I've always called it a contract, and what it basically states, it is part of my order form. So if you bought the Ultimate Guide, you'll notice that there's order form examples in that book that you can edit and add to, or whatever you and your legal team want to do. But my terms and conditions in the contract are all together on that order form. Okay. So I always give the customer a copy of the order form that also connects the contract, the policies, the terms and conditions. And so I'm just going to briefly cover all of that with you today. Just kind of all in one nutshell, one video. Try to help you see how I do things in my company. So I have the top of the page is the order form, and they're filling it out, number of bears, lap blankets, ornaments. Do they want sublimation? Do they want embroidery? What type of embroidery? We always talk about hand embroidery, embroidery machine. Do they want heat transfer vinyl? Do they want sublimation? There's so many different options I allow for my services. So they go through, they do their little check mark. Now, they have the option of just having me fill that out for them, like I do an actual intake for them, and then I submit that copy to them. I have an app on my phone that I scan. It's actually a faxing, it's like a fax app where it scans the documents. It creates it to a PDF, and I email that back to my customer. That way, we're not trying to wait for the mail to arrive. We can use technology today. I do give my customers an option of using Google Drive or another in the cloud, iCloud option like Adobe. So those are all things I teach in my How to Build a Memory Bear business classes. So hang out for those. Those are coming your way. And so as far as the contract and the order form, they're all together and they do take up 2 pages. So basically, the the order form is like page 1, and then page 2 that's connected is the contract and a policy that we have already discussed prior to me receiving half of their order down, and the clothes that they mail to me or drop off to me, or we meet in a public place and I pick them up from them. So the contract basically states that you agree to the terms, and the terms are this: you will pay half of your total up front and give me your clothing items or fabric, whatever it is that you're giving me, and that you agree on the design. And I'm going to use a memory bear because that's usually what somebody orders from me. You agree on the design that we have set forth with the memory bear. um, the clothing, I usually get orders for 5 or more bears from one person. I've only really ever had somebody. I've had a few individuals want one bear made, but typically people come to me and they want 5. And I think the last order was like 18 bears. So what we do is we take bear number 1 with these items of clothing and design it. Bear number 2 has these. So we've already done the order intake process with each other, right? We've already exchanged photos, we've spoken to one another, and the order is set. Now they've filled out their order form, and there is a little leeway on changing their order before things are cut. So from the moment that we start their order to the very moment right before I start cutting that fabric, they have a couple days really to contact me and say, "Hey, I've changed my mind. I want this item to look a little bit differently." So the contract states that once I start stabilizing that fabric, the order is set. They can't technically change the order. And I don't want to scare anybody off that they do change their order, but it works out because, um, if you have a set of 5 bears and you've got the clothes laid out, it's not a big deal to add a different piece of clothing to bear 1 and bear 2 and 3, and that doesn't cause problems. All right, but here we go. We'll get through this, I promise. So I just kind of want to make that a little bit of a background information for you. You've already spoken to the customer. You've already accepted their order. You already know that you two are going to work really well together. You already know that you can provide that sewing service and they know what to expect. You have already gotten them to take the image of their product out of their mind, and you've designed it on your paper. And again, that's something that I do teach in the How to Build a Memory Bear workshop class. And we do go, we literally go through this painstakingly, item by item in that class. You want to have on your contract, and let me see if I can find mine. And again, this is live, so I didn't edit this at all. But I want to see if I can find one of my contracts. um, Let me look at my business binder here. Sorry if the movement here, let me block the camera. I don't want to make you motion sick while I move the camera here. Okay, so this is the business binder right here. And let me see if I even have any of the contracts in front of me. And this was a free resource last year in 2021 that I did give out through my newsletter, I believe. But if you need this, it is in the Ultimate Guide book. And I hope that you are able to see that and definitely utilize it. Now, let me push pause real quick. This, what we're talking about today in this video, has nothing to do with the operating agreement if you are an LLC. That's totally not related to this topic. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. I probably have put all my contracts away for the year. And let's see. One of the other things, just a side note, is the business plan that we go through in How to Build a Memory Bear business workshop. So that's something that we go through also. Let me just see if I have it on my Sewing with Steam website still. I've been actually flipping that website this year. It has not been a priority, so it's like you know, it kind of is what it is right now. But if you can always check it out, it's Sewing with Steam LLC, and kind of get an idea of what it looks like. Oh yeah, this thing definitely needs updating. So let me see here. There's the facts FAQ is on there, and how to place your order is on there. Oh yeah, definitely needs updated. It's very, very old here. If you're with me, I'm going to go to the Sopreneur website and just see if that has been updated. But you want to spell out your expectations, and you want to make sure that the customer knows what is going on between their order and your services, because you both need to be on the same page, is what I'm saying here. I'll just stack this back. So basically what I do is I outline in the contract that once you've made your deposit, and again, remember the deposit for me, for my company, is half of the total. If your total is $55, I make you pay $25 up front. If your total is $700, I make you pay $350 up front. That is a non-refundable fee. And the reason that's non-refundable is because I've received your order, I've received your clothing, and now you've paid for half and I have started the work. So that's why it's non-refundable. It's a non-refundable deposit is what that is. And it is Non-refundable because I've already blocked out all that time for your order. And again, you want to make sure that your customers know this. Don't assume that they understand these terms. So you really want to make sure that they know this. So you've blocked out your time for their order, right? You have accepted half of the payment or half of the total of the order down, and you have received their clothing. So now the customer's on your books and you are starting their order. Um, that is in the contract. It's which is connected to the order form, like I said before. This protects you from a customer who backs out before the items are done. I've read horror stories where a customer ordered their memory bears and gave the service provider the items of clothing, and but the service provider never had them put any money down. They went ahead and made these memory bears, um, which took time and resources, right? And they never got any money for it. And now they have memory bears sitting in their space for free. And that's not fair to you as a service provider. Now, if you are a nonprofit, then that's fine. You can do whatever you want. But if you are a service provider and you are servicing individuals who otherwise would have paid you to provide that service, but then you've wasted your time, and I hate to say the word wasted, but you've spent all that time on another order and they never paid you anything, and now you've got these items that aren't any good to you. You can't resell them because they're made out of somebody else's clothing, right? It doesn't have any meaning to anybody else. You're out all of that time, all those resources, when you could have been helping somebody else through their time and their needs. So that's one reason why my company requires half of the total upfront with the items of clothes, because I'm taking that money, I'm buying the matching thread, if there's a specialty thread that I need, specialty needle, like a sewing machine foot or embroidery foot. You know, you take some of that deposit and you sink it into that order. That's what that deposit, that half down, is used for. That's not really anything you get to pocket. You get to pocket the remaining amount that they pay before the items are delivered. So that this all this information needs to be in that contract. You need to lay it out like, okay, on this day you're the service provider, on say August 13th, 2022, uh Sewing Memory Bears LLC or whatever, ABC Sewing Company received $200, which is half the total of a $400 order from customer ABC, and this will cover 3 memory bears and 2 sets of ornaments. So you've already stamped it. You've received this money. You received their order form. They have acknowledged that they saw the non-refundable clause that's in the contract. They also know the shipping. The contract should say, or I shouldn't say that, in my contract, it states shipping and handling. I give a discount occasionally. When I first started out, I gave free shipping. When I very first started, I no longer do that, because that ate up so much of my profit. And it just was not good, especially with the cost of shipping 18 memory bears in another state. I spent a little over $100 to ship those, because on top of shipping, you get the standard $50 insurance. Now, pause for a second. I don't know who's listening to this. I don't know where you live. I don't know anything about you or your business. But for me, my experience has been when I go through the USPS here in the United States, the package came, whatever I mailed came with $50 of insurance. But if my package contents cost my customer more than that $50, I had to add that additional insurance coverage. And I do require that with every order because also in my contract, I state once I mail you your item and I give you the tracking number, I actually send a receipt, a picture. I take my phone and I take a picture of the receipt from the USPS. I obviously cover my credit card that I use. I don't want them to see my business credit card. I put my thumb over it, but they can see that it was shipped to their address. So I make sure they see that and the shipping number, all on the receipt. I definitely show that to the customer that way they can see it's the same receipt with their receiving information and their tracking ID, and then I email that or text it to them however they want it, Facebook Messenger, whatever. From that moment on, they are responsible for tracking that package. I do take it one step further and I do show how I package their items for them. I take a little video, it's less than 2 minutes long, of how I've packaged their bears or ornaments, blankets, whatever they have ordered from me. I actually have my camera filming that so they can see that with care I have packaged their items to withstand weather in a sturdy container. Typically, it's a very thick cardboard box. And I also showed them the address of the address label that's on it. Um, some companies don't do that. I do because I want my customers to know that I have taken extra special care and consideration for them and their items because I know how much those items mean to these individuals. They've come to me and have paid me and my company to take extra care of their items. And I know I would want somebody to do that for me. So that's why I do that for them. And then I send them the video. Now they have the shipping and that contract they signed, whether it was digitally signed or they hand signed it or however they signed it, that also goes into the box. That way they now have two copies. All right, they have the product order and they have the whatever notes were added, like if they added onto the order, I date that on the order form, whatever notes I needed to take throughout the order process, because I want my customers to know that from the very moment they connected with me and we created this business relationship, I want them to feel like Stephanie really cares. Like Stephanie Grams of Sewing with Steam LLC really took care of me and my items. And so, I want all of my customers to feel that way. And that's one thing that I teach in these sewing business classes because we don't always think of these things on our own. And having somebody like me come to you and share some ideas with you, I think is invaluable. Like I said, I've been sewing since I was 7. It's been now over 40 years, so you can probably guess my age. And I've had one type of business or another, but mostly all about arts and teaching for 30 something years. So here I am, YouTube, right? Who thought? Um, but anyways, so I'm hoping that this gave you some ideas. I will update my website, my LLC website, to give you some more insights on how I do things. But I really hope this answered your question. So just a real quick recap. The order form is connected to the contract. Every single customer gets that. It talks about the facts. Real quick, your items were your items washed before you shipped them to Stephanie? Check. Um, did you enclose half your payment or have you already made half payment? Check. Um, you do agree to the terms of this service, that the deposit is non-refundable? Check. You do agree to pay for any additional insurance related to shipping prior to the items being shipped? Check mark. And you do agree to what was the other one? I don't know. I'll think about that one again. Anyway, so every little thing is like check, 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 check. And some people think that's like overkill or something, like that's just too much. But as a serious service provider, that does help me stand out from a lot of my competition. And I think that makes my customers feel safer that, this person really thought about all of these issues and things like that. Um, but you can always comment below what has worked for you or what hasn't worked for you. I'd love to know how you do things. If you have any positive, helpful tips, that's great. As always, I can't give legal advice or tax advice. I'm not a professional. I've just been a sewing artist for a long, long time and a serial entrepreneur for even longer than that. And you can get the free newsletter at sewpreneur.com. If you're new here, sewing entrepreneur means sewpreneur. I just did a play on the words. It's not new. It's been around for a very long time. And please like and subscribe, ring the bell for this YouTube channel. And I will be back again for some more sewing considerations for unique needs. We just finished our dementia and Alzheimer's videos, and I'm hoping that you were on the newsletter. I did send the link to the Pinterest board that has ideas that I have found. That link was in last week's newsletter. There will be another newsletter going out the week of August 15th, 2022. I will leave that original link in there all month, but then moving forward, we will be talking about sewing for ADHD, ADD, what else was there? Autism, so all those types of considerations will be coming up the week of August 15th, 2022. All right, guys, be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. Share this channel with your sewing hobbyists who want to go from a sewing hobbyist to a sewpreneur. Bye, guys.